Well, morning everybody. Farmer Dan here, checking on some wheat. So, in the past, I'd say 3, maybe 4 weeks now, we've been getting nearly daily rains. We're not prepared for that. We're not set up for that sort of moisture. We don't get that sort of moisture normally. And it's taking a toll on our wheat. You can actually see here, let me see if I can show y'all. There's wheat, well, move, there we go. There's wheat on the ground here. And that's from excessive rains. That's from high winds. That's from storms. Now, I understand we have to take what the Lord's will is with this rain here. It's His will. If He wants it to rain, it's going to happen no matter what I do. And you have to prepare for that. But we are not prepared for this excessive amount of rain. This is excessive. I bet we have had nearly, I'd say 6 to maybe 8 inches of rain total just in the month of June. And that is anything but not normal, or anything, you know what I mean. So, here I am. We've got, if I can set up my camera here. This is taking too long. There we go. All right, so we've got nearly 1,000 acres left of wheat to cut. That's probably a good 10 days of running if nothing goes wrong, just because of how far we're spread out. And that's gonna take some time. Now, we still got rain in the forecast. We still got ground to spray. We've got 3 fields of Milo. I'll drive out there and show you what our issue is. So anyway, continue with the wheat. If it'll start shining, if the sun will come out and start shining, I bet we could cut this wheat tomorrow afternoon if it'll heat up. It's gonna be really muddy, but we'll get it done. And that's the goal. Another problem that we're having to figure out is our Milo that we planted, I'd say 3 weeks ago now. It's got some chemical resistant weeds, or quote unquote Roundup. Oh, it's gonna be a hole. Okay, Roundup ready weeds. And it's something that in our region we have been battling for, I don't know, at least 5 to 7 years now, because of how many people have turned to no-till, which means using chemicals to kill weeds. Well, at some point, those weeds mutate, for lack of a better word, and the chemicals that we've been using for so long are not doing the job they need to do. We do have some chemical up at the barns that will do the job. It costs an arm and a leg. And honestly, we hate using it because we lose a lot of money on our crop. But we cannot afford to let these pigweeds, that's what these weeds are called around here. I think they call them water hemp up north is what I think y'all call it, for anybody from the corn belt area. So right here is a big one. We sprayed this twice. Dad even boosted his amount of chemical to try to hit them hard, because we realized after our burn down on this ground that it did not kill the weeds like it should have. And so he boosted his amount of chemicals and it still did not kill them. So that tells us that these are extremely dangerous weeds, because if they start to repopulate on this soil, the only thing that's going to kill them is iron herbicide or plowing it. And although we are set up to do that, we would rather use chemicals for certain rotations of our farm. Well, we bought 75 gallons, no, 90 gallons of this chemical called Husky. You can spray it on Milo. It will hurt the Milo, but it will kill the weeds. The Milo will bounce back off of it, but it takes a little bit. And so that's why it's so dangerous to use it, because you might actually kill your crop. But we just cannot afford to be having weeds like this on, especially this year. Like I said, we've had so much rain. This could potentially be one of the better years of my farming career, which I've only been farming for 4 years, so you know what, that is what it is. So that's what's going on. It's not great. It is far from ideal, and in fact it's pretty embarrassing to have all these weeds out here, because we pride ourselves for keeping a very good weed suppression on our fields. But sometimes there's just nothing you can do. We were planning on spraying today, but it rained again here last night and this morning. We've got, let's see, 320 acres here of milo. Oh, probably 110 over by that elevator, grain elevator. And then I'd say at least another 200 just to the west of that. And so there's a lot going on with this milo. The prices are really good, and so we're just gonna gamble and hope that it pays out, because we just can't afford to not, I guess. So yeah, that's a 6-minute video of me trying to explain what's going on the farm today. It's not fun, it's less than ideal, but it is what it is. And of course, you know, we have a row cultivator. We could come in here and plow up every row, but for the weeds that are inside the row where the crop is, we're gonna leave, we can't kill them. And then you run into having those weeds down every row. And actually last year, I row cultivated for a neighbor of ours that had a big issue with pigweeds, and it did kill the ones in the middle of the row, but it did not kill the ones that were, like, I'd say our row cultivator would not kill this weed, not this weed. Well, it might kill that one. Wouldn't kill this one. And you continue seeing issues like that, and you lose a lot of bushels because of that. So anyway, I hope all of that made sense. I'm gonna go check some more fields. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 4. Yeah, 4 fields of wheat left here, and then we'll head to the east. And it's stressful. It really is. But it is what it is. So anyway, catch y'all later. Well, here we are, filling up the truck. We're going to go spray as much of the milo as we can. Need the wind to change directions on one of the fields, so we might have to hit it tomorrow. Yeah, it took us all morning to kind of get some things prepared on this trailer, and also for the clouds to go away, because we still had some moisture on the weeds that we're trying to kill. And when you spray in chemicals, you want the weeds or whatever you're trying to spray to not have any accumulation on them, or else your chemical is more apt to run off of it. So sun's out, Dad's headed to the field, I'm loading this, and we'll get out. Beautiful day here in the Panhandle. Finally the humidity dropped low enough where we can start cutting. Well, it's still dropping actually. Thunder. I'm trying to be like Zach. Anyway, we are fueling up. Joseph's greasing up. And let's see. Oh, you stopped, didn't you? You're not full yet. Anyway, getting things done. We will, Lord willing, be cutting here shortly. We have 2 more fields in this region, this one right there, and then one over by those houses out yonder. And yeah, no issues. We started yesterday. I probably cut about 110 acres or so. And no, not even that, because I started late. I'd say maybe 50 or 60 acres. That's more like it. And yeah, getting her done. Starting to see some weeds popping through. You probably can't see them, but there's some weeds popping through the canopy of the weed out here. That's never a good sign, because that means we got more weeds underneath, and that just makes it all the harder for the machine to take in. But hey, we'll get her done. Other than this 160 and that's 180 or so over there. We will be done here, and we will move to the east. So anyway, we'll get her going. All right, we're headed out. Joseph's behind me. We're gonna run over to the field over there and start cutting. Hopefully be done with that by 4, maybe 5 this evening, and then we'll move to that last field I was pointing out to y'all. Anyway, this is one of the fields that Dad sprayed last night, or yesterday really, and you can't see it, but the weeds are wilting, and it hadn't even been 24 hours, so that is a really good sign. It was extremely expensive to spray it, but with the way the market is working right now, and especially with as much moisture as we've got underneath that soil, we can't afford to let this ground to be taken over by these pigweeds or water hemp or whatever you want to call it. So we're gonna send it, and hopefully those all die, and we'll have a bountiful crop this fall. So anyway, we'll start cutting here. All right, first round, or actually first swath here. I know the straw's a little tough yet. Still got some moisture in it, and so I'm gonna take it slow till things start heating up. Humidity's at like 55%, but since there's no wind to kind of I guess heat up that straw, it's still gonna be a little tough, and it's hard on a machine. And so Dad really likes to take care of his equipment, and I want to respect him with that. And so I'm gonna take it nice and slow till things kind of start getting a little easier to cut. I can actually hear the machine. If you'll listen without me talking, you'll kind of hear every now and then. That just means the machine is taking it a little hard, but it'll be okay. Well, maybe not. You might not be able to hear it. We'll see. So I have been asked why we don't run a shell-borne wheat header or a stripper header for our wheat. Because I've said before, I'm concerned about leaving tall straw, and I want that, right? Well, here's a couple of reasons why we don't. So, one, shell-borne headers, anything newer, pretty dang expensive. And second, we use this weed header to cut milo on our terraces. Now, one thing that I haven't shown y'all is we have a row crop header specifically designed to cut milo. It's a corn head converted to cut milo. I'll have to show y'all later on this season. It's a 612C, nothing fancy except it's got a conversion kit in it from Arrow. But anyway, I'll explain that and show y'all a little more about that later. But basically, the reason we don't run a shell-borne header is because we need this header to be able to cut the terraces that milo is on. Because it's really hard to cut a row crop when we have milo on there with a row head. So, anyway, that's one of the reasons. Another reason is shell-borne headers are pretty cantankerous. They are high maintenance from what I know, and they do leave a lot of wheat behind. We have some neighbors over to us, next to us, that run 2 680s and 2 42-foot shell-borne headers. And they're great farmers, don't get me wrong, but I have noticed because they run those shell-borne headers, they have a lot of volunteer wheat left over from the shell-borne headers losing it. And so I don't know if that's maybe just a variety or if it's just they let things go before they spray it. I don't know. They're great farmers, and so I know that they wouldn't let it happen unless they had to. But I see that, and so it makes me wonder how much wheat they might be losing because of those headers. And so there's that. And I'm going to put y'all over here so I can pay attention while topping this off. Let's see, what else? So, that's part of the reason why we don't run a shell-borne header. And honestly, if you would think about it, the best way to do it is we would keep this, we would keep this header and use it to strictly cut terraces with the milos on it, and then use the shell-borne header for our wheat. Well, then you're leaving like a $50,000 piece of equipment just sitting there for maybe 100, maybe 200 acres of milo every year. And that just does not financially make sense. Back for some big operators, but not for us. So that's kind of the reasons why we don't run one. I'd love to have one. We actually were on the phone with a dealership way up in north in Kansas that they're hoping to be able to send us a Shelbourne to demo for a day, just so we could kind of see what goes on and maybe whether or not we really want to take that punch and go for it. But that fell through because everyone's wanting to buy one, and he knew, like I told him, I told him that we would not buy one this year if we demoed it, because I want to see what kind of difference that all that straw does to a Shelbourne head. And I guess I ought to explain what a Shelbourne header is. So this header here, there's a cutter bar at the front of the header, and it cuts the wheat, and then it lays over into that draper head, and then it goes in, right? So what a Shelbourne does is it's an enclosed header, and it's got a drum with, I don't know, hundreds of fingers, and it's got 2 vacuums as well. So what it does is those fingers will run really fast, and it'll just knock the wheat out of the heads of the wheat, right? And that's way less wear and tear on your machine because you're not taking all this in. You can go a lot faster. I believe our neighbors go anywhere from 8 to 10 miles an hour with their machines, which is really fast. You can get a lot of wheat cut in that amount of time. And it leaves a lot of stubble left behind because you don't cut off half the plant to get to all that wheat. And so there's benefits to it. There really is. But wow, this stuff is good. I'm gonna have to slow down. But just hit over 100 bushels an acre. That's kind of cool. Don't see that in this wheat country very often. Usually an average wheat yield's about 40 to 50 acres, or 40 to 50 bushels an acre. But good grief, that's really good. I'm going to slow down. I don't want to lose any in the back. Anyway, there's advantages to that because with Shelbourne head, you leave so much straw that you protect that soil from either getting eroded or weeds coming up because the sun can't get down to that ground, so the weeds are less apt to come up. You get a lot less, you lose a lot less moisture, so you maybe have a better crop of milo that year, next year, when you plant into it. There's some benefits to it. And so I think it's something that we might see in the future of our farm, but at the moment it's just really not plausible, sadly, to do. And so maybe someday when we start running 2 machines, which is very possible with the wood. Sorry, I had to clean something off my phone. With some future land that's going to be ours someday, Lord willing. And so, yeah, all that to say that's the reason why we don't run a Shelbourne header at the moment. I would love to someday, and we will someday, but at the moment, we're going to make do with what we have. This is like a 2015 header. When we bought it, it only had 100 hours on it, so it is practically brand new for us, and I really like it. And so anyway, yeah, that's the reason.